So even there, you don't know exactly what to expect. But he is a very, very tough opponent to play.
What happens when the world's most promising athlete is silenced, not by injury, but by shame? It was supposed to be a celebration. Valentine's Day, 2025. While millions exchanged flowers and promises, the tennis world was rocked by a headline no one believed at first: Jannik Sinner suspended for doping. The golden boy of Italian tennis, the quiet warrior, the one everyone thought was different. The news hit like a thunderclap. CLA, a banned substance, found in his system. 3 months off the court. The internet caught fire, commentators whispered, fans felt betrayed, and Sinner vanished. No press conferences, no explanations, no angry tweets or public tears, just silence. A silence so loud it echoed through the empty courts of Monte Carlo where he used to train before dawn. But behind that silence, something else was happening. While journalists debated whether his career was over, Jannik stayed where he always found peace, the practice court, alone, hitting ball after ball into the void. He wasn't fighting the ban. He was fighting himself. The guilt, the disbelief, the feeling of losing control over the one thing he'd always trusted, his own body. He later admitted to friends that the banned substance came from a team member's treatment, an accident, not intention. But in tennis, as in life, perception is everything. One stain can ruin an entire legacy. For 3 long months, he was no longer the world's number one. He was simply Jannik, a 23-year-old man questioning everything he'd built since childhood. At night, he stayed off social media. No fan posts, no photos, just private dinners with family, quiet walks along the Monte Carlo shoreline, and hours of thinking about what went wrong. The same drive that once made him a champion now forced him to face his deepest fear: failure. But the human spirit, when cornered, doesn't always break. Sometimes it transforms. And in the quietest moments of that suspension, when the world wasn't watching, someone unexpected entered his story. She wasn't a coach. She wasn't a teammate. She was a stranger in the stands, watching him train, calm and composed, like she had seen this kind of fall before. Her name was Lara Leito, and that was the day when silence began to turn into something else, a new chapter. When Jannik Sinner returned to the Monte Carlo Country Club after the weeks of exile, everything looked the same: the red clay, the sea breeze, the quiet bounce of tennis balls. But something was different. Someone was watching. At first, she blended in with a small crowd of onlookers, elegant, reserved, holding a phone, recording his practice like any other fan. Yet there was something about her, a kind of stillness that didn't belong to a casual spectator. Sinner's coach Darren Cahill noticed her first. He smiled, waved. She waved back, not shyly, but like an old acquaintance. That's when the cameras clicked. The world noticed her. Her name spread quickly across sports headlines: Lara Leito, a Russian model known for her grace on red carpets, and once for walking arm in arm with Hollywood actor Adrian Brody. No one expected to see her here, watching a fallen tennis champion train in silence. Later that afternoon, when practice ended, Sinner walked off the court and straight toward her. No hesitation, no confusion, just familiarity. He hugged her. Gentle, almost protective. Then, without a word, they slipped away to the club's terrace restaurant overlooking the sea. That single photo, the hug, the faint smile, the closeness, went viral within hours. "Sinner's mystery woman revealed," screamed the tabloids. But to those who knew him, it wasn't a scandal. It was relief. Lara Leito wasn't just a new flame. She was a reminder that life could still feel warm, even after being burned. While the world speculated, their connection deepened quietly. Lara had lived through fame, judgment, and loss before. She understood the chaos that came with being seen. She didn't chase attention. She didn't post cryptic captions or paparazzi bait. She simply sat with him, listened, waited. In a rare interview years before, Lara once said, "Real strength isn't loud. It's silent, calm, and patient." And that was exactly what Sinner needed. Patience. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. He, the embodiment of discipline and focus. She, the face of elegance and emotion. Yet somehow together they found balance. When he practiced, she was there, quietly, always in the same seat. When he doubted himself, she reminded him that greatness isn't about never falling, but about standing again when everyone's watching. In her presence, Sinner rediscovered a rhythm, not of tennis, but of life. But as he healed, the past wasn't done with him yet, because before Lara there were others. Women who had walked beside him in victory and vanished in defeat. Stories that shaped him, broke him, and left their shadows behind. Before Lara there was Anna, and before Anna there was Maria. Two names that defined Jannik Sinner's most human chapters. Two women who loved him before the world demanded that he become untouchable. Maria Brachini came first. Back in 2020, when Sinner was just beginning his ascent, Maria was a quiet, soft-spoken Italian model who preferred books to fame and silence to noise. They were young, grounded, and simple. Two small-town souls in a world of flashing lights. She didn't chase the spotlight, and he didn't want to share it. Their love was private, almost invisible. No public displays, no cryptic Instagram captions, just small smiles and photos from friends who happened to catch them together. For years she stood in the shadows of his success, offering quiet encouragement while he chased tournaments across continents. But success is a demanding partner. As Jannik climbed higher, the spaces between their worlds widened. By the time he lifted his first ATP title, the love that had once been solid was beginning to fade, not in anger, but in quiet resignation. Then came Anna Kalinskaya. A professional tennis player herself, Anna spoke the same language of serves, schedules, and sacrifice. They met in early 2024, drawn to each other not by fame, but by understanding. She knew the loneliness of the tour, the exhaustion behind the victories. For a while, they were unstoppable, training together, traveling together, cheering from each other's boxes. When Jannik won the Halle Open, he smiled into the camera and said softly, "My girlfriend Anna played in Berlin today. She lost with 6 match points. I'm sorry for her." It was tender, real, the kind of love that fans rarely get to see in sport. But success, again, demands sacrifice. Tennis doesn't forgive distraction. As the pressure mounted, the warmth began to cool. By November 2024, whispers grew louder. Are they still together? When asked in an interview about their relationship, Sinner answered with a single strange line, "I cannot afford to change." Those 6 words said everything. He wasn't cold. He was scared that love might cost him the focus he needed to stay at the top. Soon after, the inevitable happened. They unfollowed each other. She stopped appearing in his box. And during his ATP Finals run, when Sinner looked up into the crowd after a victory, Anna wasn't there. Somewhere miles away, she was having dinner with friends, smiling, but not watching. To the public, it was just another breakup. To him, it was another scar. Every love story had ended the same way, quietly, without anger, but with emptiness. And perhaps that's why Lara's arrival felt different. She didn't remind him of who he used to be. She showed him who he could still become. The morning sun spilled over Monte Carlo as Jannik Sinner walked onto the practice court once more. Not as a fallen star, but as a man reborn. 3 months of silence had changed him. His steps were steadier now, his eyes calmer, his smile rare but real. When he finally announced his return at the Italian Open, the crowd erupted. The same people who once doubted him now rose to their feet, unsure whether they were witnessing a comeback or a resurrection. He didn't say much during interviews. No grand apologies, no public tears, just 6 simple words that captured everything he lived through. I've learned who I really am. That week, his tennis spoke louder than words. His movements were sharp again, but without the urgency of youth. Every stroke looked like patience sculpted into motion. Between matches, the cameras often panned to the stands, and there she was, Lara Leito. Elegant, composed, eyes fixed on him. Not as a fan, but as someone who had seen him at his lowest and stayed. It wasn't the fiery, tabloid kind of love. It was quiet, grounding, almost sacred, the kind that whispers, "I'm here," when the world screams otherwise. Reporters kept asking about the new romance. He kept deflecting. "This isn't about anyone else," he said softly. "It's about peace." But peace for Sinner wasn't a luxury. It was a decision, one he had earned through loss, humiliation, and the courage to start again. By the time he stepped onto the court for his first main draw match since the ban, something remarkable happened. The same fans who once called him a fraud now chanted his name. Every point he won felt like forgiveness. Every cheer felt like a heartbeat saying, "Welcome back." And when he finally lifted his racket in victory, there was no wild celebration. He simply looked to the sky, exhaled, and smiled. Not because he'd proven the world wrong, but because he'd proven himself right. In that moment, the story wasn't about scandal anymore. It was about redemption. about how even heroes falls and rise again, not as gods, but as humans. Jannik Sinner's journey reminds us that success isn't about trophies or headlines. It's about the quiet moments in between. The mornings you wake up and decide to keep fighting even when no one's watching. And somewhere in the crowd, Lara watched too. Smiling, proud, knowing this wasn't her story or his alone, but a shared victory over a doubt, pain, and fear. We love our heroes when they win. We celebrate them when they shine. But what happens when they fall? Do we turn away, or do we wait for them to rise? If you believe everyone deserves a second chance, leave a comment below. Share the story with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because every week we uncover the stories behind the champions. Not just the moments they win, but the moments that make them human.